צהריים טובים, אנחנו מתחילים את החצי השני של הכנס ומקווים שהוא יהיה מעניין לפחות כמו החצי הראשון. צהריים טובים גם לסטודנטים למדעי המחשב שהצטרפו אלינו ולדוקטור תומר שדמי. לרשתות החברתיות ובראשן כמובן לפייסבוק יש תפקיד מרכזי מאוד בנושא שבו אנחנו עוסקים. ג'ורדנה קטלר היא מנהלת המדיניות של פייסבוק ישראל מאז שנת 2016. לפני כן היא עבדה בשגרירות ישראל בארצות הברית, במשרד ראש הממשלה, בין השאר כיועצת של ראש הממשלה נתניהו, והיא תדבר על רגולציה ובחירות ועל הצורך בחוקים חדשים, ויהיה אחר כך מעניין לשמוע את הפאנל על האתגרים לדמוקרטיה. ג'ורדנה, בבקשה.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to INSS for inviting me here today. I do not take it for granted that Facebook has been invited to participate here, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to add a voice from the tech industry. I felt that my time would be most valuable to this audience by discussing a key regulatory priority for Israel's democracy, elections integrity. Facebook has a great deal of responsibility in countless areas. Every day we make decisions about what speech is harmful, what constitutes political advertising, and how to prevent sophisticated cyber attacks. These are important for keeping our community safe. They are also important for protecting democracy and the integrity of elections. As a company, we did not do a good enough job of preventing some of the abuse we saw in the 2016 American election. To address these concerns and other election integrity concerns by countries around the world, we have been working hard to make changes in our company and on our platform. Facebook now has global teams focused solely on elections integrity, looking into how to fight bad actors, prevent foreign interference, and promote civic engagement, just to name a few. And yet, while a global view is important, particularly because of our scale and the fact that no election is run in a vacuum, we also have people focused on particular regions and countries to ensure that our global efforts match the reality on the ground. My role at Facebook is not only to represent Facebook here in Israel, but also to represent Israel's concerns to Facebook's global leadership, to ensure that the specific issues here in Israel are being addressed by both our policies and proactive efforts. Israel has had 3 elections in the last 13 months, from the nationwide municipal election in October 2018 and 2 Knesset elections in 2019. Many of my friends were thrilled to have 3 extra much-needed vacation days. But it wasn't a vacation day at Facebook. For each of these elections at Facebook, we were focused on protecting election integrity, bringing together relevant internal teams well ahead of Election Day and on Election Day to track threats, monitor reports, and engage with local authorities. Authorities, including the Israeli police, with whom we work closely as we do with law enforcement bodies around the world, in addition to regulatory bodies, such as the Ministry of Justice and the Central Elections Committee. And yet, the relevant local election laws have not been updated to match the ways in which parties use online services to connect to voters. There is a great lack of clarity concerning how to apply old laws to new technology. So I was surprised to read so many articles in the press claiming that Facebook is frightened of how regulators in the new Knesset might handle some of the big questions regarding the Internet's role and political advertising. Nothing could be further from the truth. Legislation is important to protecting democracy and elections. And yet this does not mean that we sit back and wait for regulators to make those definitions for us. In fact, we have made many changes throughout the past 3 election cycles, including combating inauthentic behavior, reducing the spread of misinformation, and providing transparency for pages and advertising. If this speech was twice as long, I would go into each of these areas in detail. But I want to emphasize that while we worked hard internally to make these changes, we also looked outwards here in Israel towards partners in academia, civil society, and the relevant regulatory bodies such as the Central Elections Committee. The role of the Central Elections Committee is protecting the Israeli election, And therefore, this relationship was key for helping us define our role and what our responsibilities should be. I don't think that people in Israel want Facebook deciding when people are breaking local laws, and neither do we. Deciding whether an ad is violating local election propaganda laws isn't always straightforward. Actually, in Israel, it is specifically the job of the Central Elections Committee to make these determinations, and that is why we are so proud of the productive relationship that we had with them throughout these past 3 campaigns. And I would just like to add that it was also an extremely professional relationship, and as an Israeli citizen, I am extremely appreciative of their hardworking staff who worked tirelessly this past year to ensure election integrity. I will just share one example from the most recent election to highlight the importance of the committee's role from our opinion. In the 72 hours before Election Day, we were made aware of content that referred to polls and voter turnout. This required legal analysis to determine their legality, and of course, this is where we needed to rely on the Central Elections Committee. It turned out that some of this content did violate the law, and some of it did not. We respected the orders from Justice Meltzer in order to ensure that our platform was in compliance with Israeli local law. But even Justice Meltzer had to adapt his rulings to take into account content that was being created specifically for social media, creating guidelines for parties to understand how to apply old laws in the not-so-new digital world. But it is not only government partnerships that guide what we do around elections. Engaging with academia and civil society are a crucial part of how we learn and adapt in this ever-changing environment. It was at an INSS event earlier this year that spurred many fruitful discussions with Dr. Karine Nahon, president of the Israel Internet Association, regarding her concerns on fake accounts. And in May, I attended an event at the Israel Democracy Institute, hosted by Dr. Tehila Schwartz-Altshuler, where we began to delve into a conversation on how to change the local election propaganda laws, just to learn a few days later there was going to be a second election. Another example of a key local partnership is the Whistle, the only fact-checking body in Israel that is certified by the International Fact-Checking Network. And I'm so happy to see their CEO and founder, Boaz Rakoch, will be speaking on the upcoming panel because I think his voice here is very important. We rely on independent third parties like the Whistle to fact-check content because we strongly believe that Facebook should not be the one to determine what's true or false. Boaz worked to get this certification in early 2018, a first in Israel. But unfortunately, to date, the Whistle remains the only certified fact-checking body in Israel. It would be even better if Facebook could partner with more fact-checking organizations in Israel, just as we have done in other countries. I'm sure that Boaz would not mind a little competition. So I'll leave that to the Israelis here in the audience as an action item for 2020. It was from learning from partners like these around the world that we updated our policies to ban content encouraging voter suppression, including banning paid ads that suggest voting is useless or that advises people not to vote. And now that I've said the word paid ads, which yes is our business model, I want to address an issue that has been a hot topic for the past few weeks, political ads. I want to make Facebook's position on this very clear. We believe that allowing political ads provides candidates with the opportunity to share their message with the public and specifically their constituents. From a business perspective, these ads bring very little revenue to the company. From a business perspective, it would be most likely easier to take the path of not allowing something that has caused so much controversy and debate. We could just ban political ads, but we do not believe that private companies should be censoring politicians or the news. Moreover, it is hard to define where to draw the line as to what would even be considered a political ad. Would we want to block ads on important political issues such as civil marriage or drafting the ultra-Orthodox into the army? Ads can be a very important part of giving power to voice, especially for candidates and groups that the mainstream media might not otherwise cover, so they can get their message out to potential voters and the public. Just here in Israel, I saw how important this is. Banning political ads would have put all the new parties and candidates in Israel this year, both on the municipal and national level, at a great disadvantage. Their new Facebook pages, some opened just a few weeks before Election Day, after mergers were signed, were competing with incumbent pages who already had thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions of followers. We do not believe that we should ban political advertising on Facebook. We believe the better approach is to provide transparency to the public regarding how campaigns are using these political ads. We rushed to bring our ads transparency tools to Israel back in March of this year, following the snap election. In addition to ensuring that these ads were now only run by Israelis, the public is now able to see who paid for ads and how much they spent, what other ads they ran, and what audiences saw the ads. These ads remain in a searchable library so that anyone, especially the many academics and researchers here today, can analyze this data and use it to provide valuable information to the public. And that is really why we're all here today, to provide value to the public. We each do it in our own way, from the politicians and academics to the journalists and the tech platforms. In the arena of elections, values are everything. The value of a free and fair election, the value of free expression and the power of voice. In the arena of election integrity, we need new rules. New rules to provide clarity not only to online platforms, but also to the advertising industry, campaigns, parties, and politicians. New rules to reflect the reality of modern digital-based election campaigns. I hope that there can be a new standard for the next election. And no, I'm not predicting whenever that might be. I am looking forward to being a part of many more discussions on these vital issues with our government partners like the Central Elections Committee and the Ministry of Justice, our legislative partners in the Knesset, and our academic and civil society partners, including many of the people who are waiting to come up on this stage right now. Thank you again for your time. Thank you to INSS for having me as a part of this important conversation on Israeli democracy. Thank you.